for tuning in. You're watching The Property Guide. I'm Faye D'Souza. This is your one-stop guide to property investments across the country. Remember, our email ID is at the bottom of your screen. You can send in any question you have about buying a home, taking a home loan, or any of the legal problems you might be facing. It'll be our pleasure to help you on this show. You can also reach me personally on Twitter. On the show this week, we'll take a look at the festive season and what offers you can expect on property. We focus on Chennai and the infrastructure projects that will push growth in the city, and we answer questions you sent in on Hyderabad and Pune. All right, joining us in the studios today, Ashutosh Limaya, Head of Research and Real Estate Intelligence at JLL India, and Jayashree Kurup, Head of Content and Research at magicbricks.com. Thank you both of you for coming into the studio this week. Ashutosh, I want to start with you. Obviously, we're in the festive season in India and stretches, thankfully, for the next 3 months. And this is a big time for real estate. And we saw last year they didn't have such a great festive season. What can we expect as buyers from this festive season? Are we going to see the kind of offers we saw last year? Because sales have not been what we expected them to be.
I think the festive season is just beginning. I think the festive season will peak towards November, December, and that's when we expect maximum traction, and that's when the buyers generally commit with their decisions. Having said that, I think this year should be better than last year in terms of the festive season sales, and we expect some offers to come the buyers' way this year too. However, I think the offers will be restricted to those areas where we have significant unsold inventory left. And these areas, for examples, are Noida, Greater Noida, exteriors of Gurgaon, Thane, Navi Mumbai. In prime city areas, we don't have too many properties which are left unsold. So more offers to come in the suburban or peri-urban areas of big cities, and in those projects who have significant inventory to offload. They may not be as lucrative as last year, because I think over the last 9 to 12 months, developers have controlled supply to that extent. But as a buyer, I think it's one more opportunity this festive season to commit, to do homework properly, be ready when the offers come your way, and take the plunge.
All right. Jayashree, you remember last year we talked about this. We had free cars on offer, free gold coins, free modular kitchens, free bathroom set-in, things like that. What is the caliber of offers you're expecting or you're seeing right now in the pipeline for the festive season?
You know, frankly speaking, Faye, I don't think developers are going overboard with these offers for the simple reason that, you know, even when the housing sentiment index, we've just launched the housing sentiment index, and we find that while the consumer is actively looking, it's not like the consumer is actively buying yet. And consumers are still willing to wait for another 6 to 8 months before they buy, which means that they're willing to do their research, they're willing to see what's happening on the ground before they actually buy. And developers, while this season, I agree with Ashutosh, that this season will definitely be better than last year, because last year was a complete no-no from the consumer. This year the consumer is very active, but it's not like huge volumes of sales have started happening yet. I do think that it will be towards the end of the year. But to make that consumer buy, I think the developers too have realized that it's not really a gold coin or a car or something like that that's going to make the consumer buy. I think it's more to do with the fundamentals. If the project is good, if the project is getting completed on time, and I see a lot of activity on the ground across the country, which means that developers are actually trying to complete projects and lure the consumer with a good project and a proper schedules rather than a gold coin or a car or something like that. So I think the volume of the freebies, I don't see it as much as last year, but what I do see is a lot of negotiation happening. The developers are quite willing to negotiate and sell, because there's a good time to actually get the consumer to start buying.
All right, so I want advice from both of you right now for anybody who's looking to buy a home. Ashutosh, does it make sense then for me to wait until November and December when the peak of the offers do come in and then decide? Or would you say that if you're looking to buy, if you found the right project, go ahead and do it right now?
I think if one finds the right project suiting the family's requirement, I think it's time to go ahead and buy. I think it's very important to stay engaged with the developers, and it's a fine balance that as a buyer you need to maintain, that you should be showing the developer that you are interested, you are a genuine buyer. At the same time, you must do your homework well, and side by side explore other options also. not letting the developer know that you might be disinterested in his project, and that's when the best offers come your way. So we expect that the best of the deals will happen towards November, December. But if you get one before that, I would say go ahead and buy.
All right. And Jashi, like Ashutosh was telling us, Gurgaon, Noida, places like Navi Mumbai or Thane, if I'm looking to buy in any of these locations, how far can I push the envelope as far as the negotiation is concerned to bring the developer down on the rate that he's offering me?
I think you can safely negotiate between 8 to 10%, and that is the kind of negotiation that's happening in the market right now. Also, these are all markets that have huge amounts of supply. So there are two things I would like to say here. One is that do your homework, go and check out the properties and buy properties that are actually coming into the market. It makes a lot of sense to buy properties where you know that the delivery time. It's closer to delivery, rather than launch projects right now, because a lot of stock is there in the market. Today you've got good values, try and negotiate a little more, but if you feel that it's not happening and that's the house that you want, I would actually negotiate a good rate and buy.
All right, so it's a good time to negotiate a good rate and buy, and of course push that envelope as far as you can take it, but cut the deal as soon as possible. It's time for us now to talk about one of my favorite cities, Chennai. Let's take a look at the big ticket infrastructure projects that Chennai is waiting for. That's around the corner really, and we'll talk about how they're going to impact the property prices in the city. Take a look. The city of Chennai is undergoing a transformation thanks to a slew of key infrastructure projects which aim to improve connectivity and ease congestion. The first of these mega projects is the Chennai Metro. The first phase of the metro will be functional by October this year. A total of 47 stations have been planned along 2 lines of the metro. Locations like Nanganallur, Gindhi, Coimbatore are likely to see positive impact by the metro. Prices in these locations have already seen a rise of 11 to 22% in the last year alone. Another key infrastructure project is the Chennai monorail, which will have 2 corridors. One from Ponnamalli to Kathipara Junction with a link from Porur to Vadapalani, and the second from Vandalur and Velicherry. Not a brick has been laid, but the surrounding locations have already seen a steep rise in prices. Residential prices in Porur have run up 45% in the last 2 years. The last project we must talk about is the new link road between the East Coast Road and the Rajiv Gandhi Salai or Old Mahabalipuram Road, spanning 1.4 kilometers, for which the Tamil Nadu government has already sanctioned 204 crore rupees. All right, so that was the city of Chennai. Quite a beautiful mix of old and new Chennai has always been. Ashutosh, tell me this. We know that the metro is slated to open in October. There might be a delay of give or take a few months. How important is this for property along the line of that metro at this point?
Very important. I think it's not restricted to the alignment or the corridor real estate, but I think the impact or influence is much beyond that. I think what metro or similar projects do, they not only connect to different activity magnets, they create or they open out a lot of area for development, and that's precisely what's happening in Chennai. And if you look at the alignment of those metro lines, very well aligned metro. For example, the old CBD all along the Anna Salai belt, which was stagnant for a long time, stands a chance of reviving itself. Another corridor, which is the Gindhi to Anna Nagar corridor through Coimbatore, which is the new ISBT, and then you have the wholesale market there. So it is opening up a lot of areas. It is connecting thickly populated areas to work centers. And that will really make traveling a lot more convenient and faster and inexpensive. And the third segment, which is the Porur segment, which is actually the airport and surrounding area, which we hope will link effectively to the OMR or the IT corridor. Though I have some doubts on the third part, because there is a changeover involved in terms of the surface suburban network and the metro. How effectively that is arranged, the success will depend on that. So we are seeing that all these areas are already anticipating growth and development, and the property prices there are reflecting that already. So we see that.
So from where we are right now, assuming everything now goes as planned, which it rarely does, let's be honest, when the government is concerned, assuming all of these corridors open up as planned, the transit between, over the ground metro and underground metro is done really well, what sort of capital appreciation are you expecting for these key areas that you just mentioned?
I think 10% on an annual basis is very normal. Now, when infrastructure projects of this nature become operational, that appreciation can easily touch 20% for the first couple of years. Afterwards, it tends to stabilize a bit. So I would imagine that out of the 20% appreciation, I suppose 5 to 10% is already happening. Even the metro is not yet operational. The remaining 10 to 15% appreciation we should see in the next 12 months or so.
Jesh, I want to bring you in here for someone who's looking to buy a home in Chennai, and we've talked about this in the past, that the older neighborhoods of Chennai really don't have any fresh supply. There are old bungalows, they're beautiful, but they're difficult to buy. So if I'm looking to live in Chennai and I'm looking to buy a home, what neighborhood would you recommend, given the new infrastructure projects that we consider?
See, Faye, there are 3 big infrastructure projects that I would consider, the metro being one of them. Take the when the metro comes, because it's a new infrastructure in the city, you can expect a lag of about 3 to 6 months before the values start rising. However, like Ashutosh said, we've already seen a 10 to 12% rise along these areas. There are 4 areas that I would actually pinpoint here where we think maximum potential is there because of the metro. One is the Nanganallur, Coimbatore, Guindy and Porur. These are 4 areas where we see potential, but I would say that it would be slow and it would be in the next 3 to 6 months. But in addition, there are a couple of infrastructure projects which I think will have a impact on other parts of Chennai also, which is, if you look at the ECR OMR link roads, one of the link roads is already sanctioned, the other one is in the pipeline. These link roads, while ECR is more expensive, OMR has all kinds of properties, it opens up the transport corridors, and you are able to get another route to get out of OMR, which is currently facing a huge traffic bottleneck. And therefore, those areas also, I think, will be impacted because of an infrastructure project.
All right, we must talk about this since both of you brought up Porur at this point. And Ashutosh, I'll ask you first. On the 28th of June, there was a building collapse in Porur. And investigations, although they're not conclusive yet, have suggested that maybe it's because of the land quality. That it's wetland, Porur, it used to be a lake, it cannot support high-rise buildings. Yet we know there are several builders who are building there. How much of a concern should that be for a home buyer who's looking at that neighborhood? Would you recommend that we wait at least until the investigators can give us a conclusive report?
I think when you are developing on a wetland or lakeside, etc., that calls for additional caution. To know what kind of foundation and footings are designed and constructed for the high-rise building to be stabilized and to be safe for inhabitation. I would say that such collapses, I genuinely hope so, that are one-off collapses we don't want anymore for sure. But I think as a buyer, I think one needs to do that additional check of getting the structural drawings vetted from a structural engineer to be sure that these buildings are indeed safe to buy a home at. But otherwise, I think it will be the normal due diligence that one needs to do in all cases. Given that this is a low-lying area, the groundwater table is high, the topsoil might be unstable, one should call for a structural audit and structural engineer's report.
If you're looking to buy a home in any of the locations we discussed in Chennai, here are a list of interesting projects that you could consider. If you're looking to buy a home in Chennai, here are some options that our experts recommend. In Porur, Infinity by Urban Tree Infrastructure, Alayam by Manju Foundations, Republic by Akshaya, Magna by Newcrest Housing. In Guindy, Ananya by BBCL, The Point by KSV Developers. And in Coimbatore, Kalpatru by Yuga Builders. Time for us to take a very short break, but when we come back, we'll talk about Hyderabad and Pune. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. You're watching the Property Guide in ET Now. Thank you for staying with us. Both of our guests are still with us. We're going to answer the questions you sent in during the week. And if you have a question about a home you'd like to buy, write to us. Our email ID is at the bottom of your screen. First question for this week comes in from Amarjeet Singh. Writes in from Hyderabad. Now, he wants to buy a 2-bedroom apartment as an investment near the new Infosys campus in Hyderabad. He wants to know what the current property prices are, what sort of returns he can expect from that location in the future. Now, Hyderabad, obviously, the dark horse of all property projects. And this is the interesting part right now. The prices in Hyderabad are on par with prices in Vijayawada and Vizag if you want to buy a nice apartment constructed by a nice builder. So, close to the Infosys campus is great location. What is he going to have to pay right now, and what capital appreciation can he expect?
I think the location that he is mentioning here is Pocharam, which is slightly ahead of Uppal on the Warangal highway. And this is the dark horse within the city also. So all this wise, we have been talking about high-tech city, Gachibowli, which are the western suburbs. This is the location which is the eastern suburbs.
So this is the new Infosys campus that's coming up even further. Right?
That's right. So I think in that location, currently the prices are between 2,500 and 3,000, highly affordable. And in the last 18 months, this locality has given a return of 18%, which is very good. Going forward, because the base is low and because this area after Infosys is now coming onto the real estate map, we anticipate at least 15% of appreciation in the next couple of years. So somebody who wants to invest it now, I think great opportunity because the entry barrier is low, and we anticipate the appreciation to be quite steep in the first few months.
Teshi, what sort of supply is available in that neighborhood right now, though? Because all of the new supply we're seeing is towards the whole Gachibowli, Madhapur area. So, in the eastern suburbs in Hyderabad, is there any supply? Is anybody building that side?
There are 2 or 3 very small local builders, but we don't see, there's hardly any supply on the site, which means that from the real estate perspective, it's not very active yet. And whatever will happen, there will be new launches and new projects. But otherwise, these are very small local developers and very limited stock.
And just add to that, Jayashree's observation, we just had in the last couple of months 2 projects which are bringing up about 250 units put together. And after a long time, we have seen some sort of supply coming into this market because it was largely dormant for the last 2 odd years. So I think with those 2 projects, one is by Matrix Majestic, the other is by Trident Grande. I think this will actually start the momentum for this area to start picking up.
All right, and 2,500 to 3,000 rupees a square foot in Hyderabad is quite a steal in any neighborhood, especially near an Infosys campus. Let's take another question. Reba Jyoti has written in, planning to buy an apartment in Hosa Road in Bangalore. Now, Hosa Road is in between Hosu Road and Sarjapur Road, and which is why they call it Hosa Road. That means new road. Now, a budget of 40 to 60 lakh rupees. What are the possible appreciation can I expect from that neighborhood over the next 2 to 3 years? Shashi, do you want to take that? What sort of appreciation can we expect from Hosa Road?
Right now, it's very affordable. It's roughly about 3,500 to 4,000 rupees, and he should be able to, in his budget, get about a 1,250 to 3,000 square feet apartment, 1,250 to 1,500 square feet apartment. So there are lots of options here, and it's a very active neighborhood. I think because the base is very low, you can expect, I think, in 5 years, you should be able to get at least a 20-25% rise.
Well, that's good news for any investor. Let's take another question. Sachin Bagle has written in. He wants to buy a 2-bedroom flat or row house in Pune with a budget of 60 to 70 lakh rupees for an investment. He wants to know what area of Pune will suit him most. Ashu, this is the interesting thing about Pune. It has completely run up over the last couple of years. I was having a conversation with someone who told me a 2-bedroom in Wagholi currently is being priced at 84 lakh rupees. So there might be more traditional parts of Pune where if he searches hard enough, he'll find a slightly older flat within his budget maybe. But as an investment, what do you think he should do?
I think, as you rightly said, the core areas of city, the second sales or the old house markets, he might be able to find one property suiting to his budget. But I think the 2 corridors that he should look at, one is the eastern corridor, which is the Nagar Road. And as you rightly said, till Wagholi, it's now quite saturated. The prices are quite steep there already. I would advise him to look at the Ranjangaon area, which is on the same corridor but slightly ahead of it. That's where the MIDC's industrial estate is functional and is doing quite well.
There's nothing happening there though. I mean, it's barely a road. There's no, there's no social infrastructure around it. There's nothing going on in that neighborhood. There's barely anything happening at Wagholi, in fact. So, I mean, you'd be sending him far outside the city, wouldn't you?
No, I think it's for an investment purpose. So he doesn't need to stay there right away. And we have seen that the social infrastructure on that corridor catching up pretty fast. Till Wagholi, we have Manjri, Wagholi, that is pretty much inhabited now. We have projects from reputed developers in that corridor. So I don't think Ranjangaon is too far away from that perspective to enjoy the status of a good satellite town kind of status. So that's one corridor. And second corridor I would like to recommend to him is the Chakan corridor, which is slightly on the periphery of Pimpri-Chinchwad industrial belt. And that belt is also doing quite well, the automobile industry there. Plus the new plants and the new Chakan-Talegaon road, which is making this area to be much more accessible and convenient to travel to. That's another area where within his budget he can enter now, and if he has 3 or 5 years of time at his disposal, will give him good returns.
Next question comes in from Deepak. He's looking to buy a residential 3-bedroom flat in Noida with a budget of 40 to 45 lakh rupees. Please give me some good projects. He tells us he's already seen Amrapali Spring Meadows in Noida Extension. He wants to know if that's a good choice. Jayashree, with his budget, will he be able to have, find enough options within Noida?
Noida Extension, he should be able to get a lot of options. There is a lot of development projects are coming into possession stage. So he really has a lot of options to look here. You've got at least 8 to 10 developers building in that area, and these are all active development taking place. So 40 to 42 lakh is not to about 48 lakh is not a bad budget for the Noida Extension area. And most of these projects are going to come to him by, I think, 2015, 2016. So a couple of them are coming into possession stage in 2014. Now, it's very close to Noida, and the Noida's commercial market is picking up. So if you look at this kind of project, Noida Extension, you will see that there will be rental returns because of the commercial development that's happening, and it is, it's a livable area. The infrastructure is all there.
What about Amrapali, Jayashree? What's your view on that project right now?
Amrapali has been delivering. Amrapali's projects are coming into possession stage, and active developer, lots of projects, and has started delivering projects. So I would say that it's not a bad deal.
All right. I have time for one last question. Pratim has written in, he wants to buy real estate in Mumbai with a budget of 22 lakh rupees, which means that he's now narrowed down his search to Taloja or Badlapur. He wants to know which of the two is a better option if he's going to hold the property for 5 years. Ashutosh, between those two, and they're obviously new upcoming neighborhoods and they're changing every day. If you had to choose one or the other, which one would you choose?
I think if one is ready to wait for 5 years, I think most locations will give good returns, because that's a fairly reasonable time to wait and reap the returns. Between these two locations, I would go for Taloja because I think that location is marginally better. Because
how so?
Because it's going to get connected to the new proposed airport, which is coming in Panvel area, in a better way than Badlapur. Badlapur, which is currently within the rail corridor, it doesn't have any economic engine of its own. Whereas Taloja, it doesn't have one on its own, all right, but it's next to a big infrastructure project like an airport. So I think between the two, Taloja would fare better. And 5 years is a reasonable time. So both locations will give good returns. But my bet will be on Taloja.
Will be on Taloja. All right. So the bet on Taloja there. If you have any questions at all, anything to do with property, write to us. Email ID is at the bottom of your screen. Jayashree and Ashutosh, thank you so much for spending time with us this week. That's a wrap on the show, unfortunately. From me and everybody else who puts the show together, thanks so much for watching. Stay in touch.